Hey everybody. I was kind of wondering what type of content I wanted to make when I was done with my Lego Petscop videos. By the way, I've started to buy those Lego Petscop modules. So far, I have the basement for the school. Everything was in the basement. You know, the machine, the room with all the toys in it, and the staircase. And then I also have the hallway that had all the caskets in it. Um, and right now, I just ordered pieces to build the house, like the entire house, the greenhouse. Um, but I'm still waiting for all my pieces to get here. Some of them got here already, and I think it'll be like 2 days before the next ones get here. Uh, so yeah, I'm collecting it. I think I'll buy one module a month until I um, get the full thing, and then I'll just have like the entire Lego Petscop. Uh, and then I was thinking, what type of content should I make next? Because I don't really have the editing skills to make like long form videos. So I thought that maybe I could just record podcasts where it's like I talk, I say some things, and I just talk about a certain topic for a reasonable amount of time. And one thing I was thinking about doing recently, I watched through a lot of the old Pixar films again, and I played through Lego Incredibles, and I was thinking it would be cool if we had more Lego Pixar games. And they really could just do like Pixar collection Lego games. Like they don't necessarily need to make it based on a lot of movies in the same franchise. They could just do it based on like the company that made them, you know. And so like you could have a Lego Pixar game, a Lego Disney game, Lego DreamWorks game, like a collection game. But first, I want to talk about the a series of movies I actually think would make a good standalone Lego game, and those would be the Toy Story films. So, um, well, one of my big disappointments with the Incredibles game, I like the game a lot, but one of my big disappointments is just how short it is. Like it's based on two movies, and even then they make you play the second movie first, which is just a mind-boggling design choice. But yeah, it's I like the game, and I definitely see a lot of potential for like future Lego Pixar games. Pixar films are kind of my childhood, so I would like to see more. And so I've been thinking how you turn the Toy Story games into Lego games. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to go through each movie one by one, and I think I'm going to do it based on a 6 level structure. And maybe at the end of like talking about the things, I could like I don't know, maybe I could like decide on like maybe decide which level to drop to get it down to 5 levels. Maybe I could do that. But I'll go through them one by one and we'll just see. So I think first level of Toy Story 1, I actually took some inspiration from the Toy Story 3 game. The Toy Story 3 game turned the imagination sequences where it's like the kids were playing with the toys into full on levels. And so I'm thinking that for some of the more iconic imagination sequence, we're not going to turn like every playtime segment into a level, but like for some of the more iconic ones, like the opening of Toy Story 1 with Woody versus One Eyed Bart, I think I could turn that into like a full level. So in this level, you'd be playing as Woody, and player 2 would be Rex, the dinosaur that eats force field dogs. Um, Woody's powers, I think. The only one I can really think of Woody having is grappling hook. Um, because he has the pull string, and in like every Toy Story game I've seen, they turn the pull string into like a grappling hook mechanic. So it's like, yeah, the pull string would be a grappling hook, and it'd say its little phrase every time you use it, like, "Oh, that's cute." Um, so yeah, Woody would have his pull string, and Rex, I think he could have a few powers. One power I definitely could see is in Toy Story 2 he used his head to bash through a wall. So I think with like the wall bash ability, um, I think you literally could just have him smash his head against the wall and it breaks. Um, Second ability I think would be like sonar smash because like he roars. Yeah, that's the other thing he does. He's like rah 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 rah. He roars. So that would be a second power, and then like maybe a third power would be maybe he could like pull super strength handles with his mouth, but that one's a big maybe. Um, so yeah, you'd play as Woody and Rex in the level, and I don't think it would start with a boss fight. I think it would start with a more tutorial like scene where it's just you go through the Fate Town, and aesthetic wise, I think I'd like it to look like the Cardboard City. Because you know you could go all out and make like a proper old timey looking town, but I think the cardboard boxes are honestly iconic enough that you could just have the entire level be them going through like a cardboard town. Um, I think the swarm enemies in this level will be monkeys, like the monkeys from the barrel. Because in Toy Story 3, those were like the swarm enemies of Evil Dr. Porkchop. So it makes sense with him and One Eyed Bart in the Andy continuity, them being like allies. It makes sense that the monkeys would be swarm enemies of One Eyed Bart as well. Um, so yeah, you'd go through the town, you'd fight monkeys, you'd utilize Woody and Rex's powers, and like you get through the city. At the very end of the level, you have a run in with One Eyed Bart, and he'd be holding Bo Peep hostage. So yeah, then you'd have a boss fight against One Eyed Bart, and he'll have his force field dog, and so the way you defeat One Eyed Bart is you need to use Rex to disable the force field dog in some way. And then you'd use Woody to attack One Eyed Bart directly. So like you disable the force field dog like 3 times, and then you go punch Bart's face like 3 times, and then it'll be down. In terms of Bart's attacks, um, so Mr. Potato Head, he has his angry eyes attack that he uses in the second Toy Story film. I think that could be good for when his force field is down. He'll like charge at you with his with his Mr. Angry Eyes attack, where he'd probably just like put a shoe on his face, but it'd be one shoe because he's One-Eyed Bart. I don't know. That sounds funny. But while he's in the force field, I think he'll just like throw spare parts at you, like spare Mr. Potato Head parts. Um, and then like after you defeat Bart, a cutscene will play where it's revealed, oh, this was Andy's imagination the whole time, and like he throws Mr. Potato Head into the baby crib, and then like he plays with Woody whatnot, and they establish the birthday party is gonna happen, and then yeah, so that will probably be the end of episode 1, level 1. The hub world segment. Hub world. One section of the hub world will be Andy's room. Um, and during the hub world segment, you just be organizing everyone for the meeting that Woody does. And so, like the opening cutscene of level 2 will be the meeting itself. And then like everyone gets afraid, so Woody sends out the army guys. So level 2 would be playing as the army guys, going through the house and like spying on the birthday party. I think the way the army guys would work is a lot like the clone troopers from the Clone Wars game, where they'd all have like a tool or something, and depending on what tool the character is given, that determines what powers they have. And of course, the Sarge, I think he would have a very similar power to the command, the command power, where it's like, this is used a lot in the Star Wars games, where there's like a group of 4 soldiers, and so like you go over there to command them. So that will be like Sarge's main power, and I think he'll have a second power of like binoculars, um, and it will work similar to like the Pirates of the Caribbean telescope. If you ever played the Pirates of the Caribbean game, where it's like you look through the telescope and you like focus your gaze on something in the vicinity, and then like follow it around as it moves. Um, and so I think a lot of the level would be like going through the house. I think a swarm enemy for a lot of the Toy Story levels could just be spiders. Because like spiders would be a big threat to these toys, right? So yeah, you'd have that. And then the end of the level would be like you get up into the where the plant is, and then you use the binoculars as a telescope, and you have to like focus your gaze on the presents as they're being opened. And then like you could use the audio from the scene during this. Um, but of course it would be from the soldier's perspective this time. And then at the end of the level, you get the cutscene where it's like Rex gets really nervous, so like he shakes the table and the walkie-talkie falls off and the batteries fall out. Um, and then Andy brings Buzz into the room and puts him on the bed. And then like Buzz would have his introduction. So that would be the end of level 2. A pretty simple level, and that might be the one we end up getting rid of or combining with level 1 to get 5 levels if we have to, but I'm not certain. So the hub world segment in between levels 2 and 3 would probably be it would probably be Buzz fixing up his ship. Uh, so it's like you get to fix up Buzz's ship, and then Woody goes to knock him out of the window. So then you'd have the cutscene where he knocks him out of the window, and then level 3 begins. Level 3 will begin at the gas station, and I know this was probably just like a 2-time thing, but the the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight from the original Lego Star Wars game. I think that could be a good way of starting this level, where it's like player 1 is Woody, player 2 is Buzz, and then like you have to fight each other under the car. That could be a funny start to the level. Um, and then of course after they fight, you'd have the cutscene where the car drives off without them. So Buzz's powers. I won't talk about Buzz's powers now. Uh, he has this karate chop action, which I think could translate well into like the vine cut power. Um, because the vine cut power, in episode 2, like he cuts through some vines. So I think you could just give Buzz the vine cut power, like you could do that. Alternatively, uh, or additionally, I should say, he'll have glow in the dark power because he's glow in the dark. He can glide, of course. Maybe he'll have super strength. I don't know if Buzz canonically has super strength, but every single Toy Story game I've seen gives him super strength. And then there's a power Mr. Incredible has in the Lego Incredibles game where he can just straight up yeet other players. He can throw other players. Maybe you could give Buzz that as well. I am thinking of the official Toy Story 3 game when I'm saying that could be his power. Um, but yeah, you could do that. And then you have his laser. So with the laser, I'm thinking you could do something similar to like the portal turrets if you played Lego Dimensions. In Lego Dimensions, you could like point the turret light at like a specific terminal, and then it would activate, and then it would do something. I think you could do something similar with Buzz. You need to make the terminal look less high tech, you know. Maybe even then it's just like a little orb of glass that like would like reflect the light. Maybe it could even be a thing where it's like you use the laser to shine it into humans' eyes or some shit like that. I don't know if Lego would want to do that because they are a toy company for kids and they probably don't want to teach kids to shine lasers in people's eyes. But I mean, like that could be a mechanic. But in some of the more imagination sequence episodes, it will actually just work like a regular Lego laser where it can, like destroy gold objects. Um, so yeah, those will be Buzz's powers. So the second playable segment of level 3, um, you could make the scene where like they're on the grounds of the gas station playable and like they're trying to get to the truck. You could make that playable, but I think one big segment I think should be playable in terms of like the gas station segment is when they get in the back of the truck and it's like all the toolboxes and shit are moving around. Um, that would probably be like the end of this level, And the way you'd make that multiplayer is you'd just have Buzz go in the back as well. Um, it's just a small change for multiplayer. And then after you survive all that shit, the level ends when they get to Pizza Planet. So like the hub world segment after this would just be like uh, putting on a the food things, the cardboard burger box and the drink cup. You'd put them on, you'd ride them like Lego barrels, and then you just go into the front doors of the Pizza Planet, and that's it. So level 4 will be Pizza Planet. Uh, and this level will mainly consist of Woody and Buzz sneaking around the Pizza Planet and trying not to get spotted by humans. I don't think it would be like a proper stealth segment, because there were the stealth segments in Lord of the Rings, and I think those are fine if done occasionally, but I don't want the Lego Toy Story game to just be that all the time. Um, so I think it would more so be like a sort of thing where it's like you go behind a lot of the arcade cabinets, uh, and you cause like diversions by like solving puzzles or whatever, to move to like the next arcade terminal, and like you keep moving along, and then the climax of the level will come in when Buzz decides to enter the prize machine. There will be a cutscene that plays where Buzz enters the prize machine. Woody goes after them. They meet the aliens, and then Sid comes in to try and win one of the aliens. Um, and I actually think you probably could make a sort of makeshift the Claw boss fight. I think legitimately you could do something to make that playable. So I think the room this would take place in, it would be sort of composed of like minifigure aliens that are just like static. And maybe it's just because whenever I see the scene from the movie, I just find it so funny that some of the aliens are just like completely static. and and so it's like, um the aliens will sort of make like a little cove where it's like they'll be like above and below you, and then like aliens would like swarm towards you to try and fight you, and you have to kill them, you have to punch them up, beat them up, whatever. And you play as Woody and Buzz in this. I know Woody was more active in the film, but Buzz would just be player 2, obviously. And the way the claw would works is occasionally it would like drop down from the ceiling, and when it does, sometimes it will like um, break apart the roof in like a dramatic fashion, where it's like several aliens would fall down, and then they'd start trying to fight you. Um, and if the claw goes down and it grabs you, you'd have to do like a mash X sort of thing to break free from its grasp before it takes you. Um, and basically what you do is like occasionally you'd be given like little pieces that you can do stuff with, and you can use those pieces to build like traps for the claw, I guess, that would like damage it a little bit. Like the claw would get caught on them, and then it would just like, like break the hardware a little bit, I guess. Um, and then like the end of this playable segment, like the door would be revealed, like the door that Woody tries to use to escape. And so after you open that door, then the cutscene would play where the claw gets a hold of Buzz anyway, and like starts taking him up, and then Woody grabs his heel, and then Sid gets a hold of him. Let's go home and play. One thing Lego could do to do the humans is they could just make the humans giant minifigures. Like I do know a big thing would be like the size difference between the toys and like the humans. That would be something they need to get around. But I'm the kind of person where I wouldn't mind if they just did make them like giant minifigures. I know that's awkward sometimes. Like the giant Superman at the end of Batman 3 was pretty awkward. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't mind them doing that for Toy Story. Um, so level 5 would start with a cutscene of Sid coming into the house, and he steals his sister's doll. He runs upstairs and he chops its head off. Um, and then after that, like Woody and Buzz, they would crawl out of the bag, and they'd see the quote unquote cannibal toys getting a hold of the dolly and the Velociraptor. And then the first playable segment of level 5 would start. I don't mind if level 5 is a little bit long, because I didn't mind level 5 of Incredibles 1 being too long in like the Lego Incredibles game. That was a pretty long level. It was like from the time where Helen shows up with the plane all the way to like Dash running away from the syndrome goom across the ocean. Uh, so I wouldn't mind level 5 of Toy Story 1 being a bit longer. Um, and basically, the first playable segment would be you playing as Woody and Buzz, and you'd move through Sid's room, and you'd have to get out. Uh, well, you'd have to get out. Uh, I don't know how the cannibal toys would work because, of course, they're not antagonistic. You know, we find out in the end that they're not actually enemies, so they wouldn't be fighting you directly. But I don't know. Maybe there's like a phobia sort of mechanic there where it's like Woody and Buzz do not dare to get close to them or something, and so like you gotta move them out of the way to get by them. And then after you get past them, then you get into the hallway, and then I think this will be sort of one of those more stealth segments like the Lord of the Rings game have, where it's like they're crouched over, they move a little bit slower, and they have to solve puzzles to avert the gaze. So like, I think the way the Sid's dog segment would work is that like he'd peer up over the railing, and like you'd have to solve something, complete a puzzle. Like maybe the map here could be like a bunch of like maybe the hallway could be a little bit messier than it was in the film, so you could have some stuff to navigate through, like maybe some old clothes or like maybe even like other toys that are just laying there, like playing dead, so the dog doesn't get them. And then like you get through all of that, but like the last thing you'd have to do before getting past the dog is you'd have to use a grappling hook point as Woody. But after you use that, of course, it alerts the dog's attention. So so then like the last part of the hallway is a little bit more tense, and then you just have to get into like the rooms at the end of the hallway. And then that's where this playable segment would end, and then it plays the cutscene where Buzz sees the TV, and he sees that he's a toy, and so he goes out onto the railing to try and fly, and his arm breaks off. And then the cutscene would continue on to show Woody getting his face burnt, and then you'd also see Mrs. Nesbit, the Mrs. Nesbit cutscene. It is Mrs. Nesbit. Um, Now I think I don't want the cutscene to be too long, so I mean you could just have like a short second playable segment, which is just like a really short segment where you just climb the dresser in Sid's room, to throw the lights over to the other house. And then you'd have the cutscene where it's like the toys are like, "No, Woody, you're a murderer." And it's like Woody's like, "No, I'm not a murderer. Here's Buzz's disembodied arm." And then they're like, "You are a murderer. Freak you, Woody. We don't like you no more." And then Woody's like, "No!" And then the cutscene continues on to show that the cannibal toys are actually good guys, and they wanted to fix Buzz. They wanted to fix Buzz by putting his arm back on. The cutscene continues on to show Sid coming in, and he straps Buzz to a rocket, and then he goes to sleep. And of course, the cutscene would continue on until like the morning, when he takes Buzz out to the backyard. And then the third playable segment, I think you'd be playing as Ducky and Legs, like the two cannibal toys that like crawl through the vents. So you crawl through the vents as them until getting to the doorbell. And then a cutscene will play where everyone gets on the skateboard and then goes outside. And then the fourth playable segment of this would be like setting up hiding spots for all the toys, and then like getting everyone to their hiding spots. And then of course the cutscene of Sid's comeuppance will play, and I'm just gonna briefly say I think Sid's comeuppance is probably like the best of the Toy Story villains, because I don't know, I there there was always like a slight twinge of horror in like the comeuppance of the Toy Story villains, and even though Sid is like the least evil of the Toy Story films, I just love that they traumatize this kid for life. Like with Stinky Pete and Lotso, it's kind of like they were put into the hands of a captor. Sid's was just they broke the rules of the toy universe in order to scar him for life. And I don't know, I loved that. I thought that was a really funny defeat scene. Uh, yeah, but then the end of the cutscene would show that the moving truck is outside Andy's house, and so Woody and Buzz are gonna go get to it. So level 6, of course. Well, the level 5 hub world segment will just be like you going up and like grabbing the little string at the end of the moving van. Then level 6 starts with a cutscene where Woody and Buzz get separated because of Scud. Um, and then so it's like Woody would be on the truck and Buzz would be like far behind on a car. Um, and then the toys come out and they see Woody throw RC out of the truck and they're like, "Ah, hex nah! Woody's gonna be gonna be killing us again. Oh no!" Um, and so episode 6 will actually start. I think it will be like multiplayer split. It will kind of be multiplayer split, and it will kind of be a boss endurance actually. So, like, you'd have Andy's toys fighting you the whole time. Like, from Woody's perspective, you'd have Andy's toys fighting you. And from Buzz's perspective, you'd be trapped under a car and you'd be, like, fighting against Scud as, like, he's trying to get underneath the car. Um, and you really could just be creative with the way the toys fight Woody. But basically, when you're playing as Woody, you'll have to subdue Mr. Potato Head, Ham, Slinky, and Rex, like the main 4 that aren't the main characters. The 4 secondary characters of Toy Story 1. So it's like you have to defeat them. And then as Buzz, you'd I don't know, you'd like solve some puzzles underneath the car and build some stuff to prevent Scud from getting to you or something. Um, and then after that, a cutscene plays where it's like the toys throw Woody off the truck. Um, but like RC goes over and gets Buzz, and then RC drives over and he grabs a hold of Woody as well. And then like the toys in Andy's truck look back and they're like, "Hey, look, it's Woody and Buzz. He was actually trying to save Buzz the whole time." And they're like, "Oh frick, we done fucked up." But then Scud will be chasing you. So one thing I actually kind of like about the more modern Lego games is when they do vehicle segments, it's usually more auto-scrolly. And when there's a single vehicle in any given segment, um, they'll often have player 2 be a character that like throws projectiles, and I think that actually kind of works with like single vehicle segments. Um, so I think player 1 will be RC moving around, and then player 2 will be Buzz, and it's like you could shine your laser at like stuff in the background to try and get a mini kit or some shit. Um, so it would basically be an auto scrolling segment through the streets as Scud chases you. Um, and then like after that, I think would be uh, when like Slinky reaches out to try and grab Woody and Buzz. I don't know if that will be playable or just in the cutscene because I don't know how you'd like translate it into gameplay. Um, but yeah, you'd have that. And then a cutscene would continue on to show like Woody lighting the rocket, and then they go up into the sky. And then I think the last playable segment of this level could just be like one of those falling segments. Um, I don't know. That scene was just nostalgic to me as a kid, so I would like to have a moment playing through it. Although of course, if you're gonna make it multiplayer, Woody or Buzz wouldn't be holding on to Woody. Um, but yeah, you could have that be like the end of Toy Story 1, and then the cutscene plays where it's like they land in Andy's car, and then they wink at each other, and then the finished story could be like the Christmas scene at the end, where they're opening up Christmas presents, and they get Mrs. Potato Head, and then they get the puppy, which sets up Toy Story 2. So, okay, so that's my choice for the 6 levels. If I had to remove one, I'd say either combine the imagination sequence with the army men sneaking around, or combine the gas station level with the Pizza Planet level. I think that's how I'd get it down to 5 levels, and then like you could cut out some of the less important playable segments from those if you wanted to, yada yada yada. And I did, like, this is the case with a lot of Lego games, but I do find it kind of funny that you don't actually get to play as any of Andy's toys in a level. Except for Rex at like the very beginning because of the imagination sequence. I don't know, like it makes sense, but it's just funny to me that you'd get to play as the cannibal toys before you get to play as most of what Andy's toys in this game. So yeah, you'd have that. Um, Now let's get into Toy Story 2. So, in terms of making the imagination sequence playable, I don't think the Evil Dr. Porkchop scene is as iconic as One-Eyed Bart or the train sequence from the third movie, so I don't think I'm going to make that playable. That might just be because, like, I didn't get to see Toy Story 2 a lot as a kid, so I don't remember the scene a lot, but the opening of Toy Story 2 was the Buzz Lightyear video game, and I just think I don't want to have 2 levels that aren't in relation to the main plot. So I think in terms of like an introduction imagination sequence level, the best choice would be the Buzz Lightyear video game. So player 1, of course, would be Buzz Lightyear, and then player 2, um, player 2, I think player 2, you could make a character from the Buzz Lightyear extended universe. Because you have Buzz Lightyear from Star Command, and then you also have the Lightyear movie. So I think player 2 in this level could just be like one of Buzz's allies or something, and it's like he's coming with him on the quest to Zurg's lair. And so you get through. I think that character would just have a lot of the same powers as Buzz as well. By the way, I don't think the character would be too unique. It's just here so you have a player 2. So yeah, you get through the stuff. You get through the stuff in the asteroid belt. Actually, first would probably be the flying segment. I am going to use the Toy Story 3 game for inspiration here because it had its own level based on the Buzz Lightyear video game. Like, the first segment was like a flight segment, an auto fly segment. And I'm going to be honest that in Lego games, I like when vehicle levels are like auto scroll. I don't like them when they're free roam. That's basically my motto with Lego games. If it makes the vehicle scroll, I like it. Like, I like the pod race and I like the battle over Coruscant level. But like I don't like gunship cavalry. Basically. So yeah, you'd have like a flying segment at the beginning, which is like an auto-scrolling segment as Buzz in Player 2. And then you'd have a segment like going through the asteroid field, solving some puzzles, moving through it. And then you find Zurg's lair, and then you move through Zurg's lair. And then at the end of the level, you get to have a boss fight against Zurg. And of course, after you beat Zurg, it's the classic Lego game thing where you beat the boss in the level, but the boss defeats you in the cutscene. So, yeah. After that, the cutscene plays where it's revealed that this is a video game the whole time and Rex just lost. And maybe you could even edit the cutscene as well to give Buzz his own controller, like to imply that he was playing player two this whole time. And the cutscene would continue on, show Woody looking for his hat. They find his hat, whatever. Buster comes in, and then like the cutscene goes on to show Andy like pick up Woody and play with him a little bit until his arm rips, and then he puts him on the shelf, and then he goes to cowboy camp. So I don't think the hub world segment will be too much. I think it will just be like you get to play as Woody on the shelf, and then you move some books or something, and then the level starts. And then level 2, I think, I'm going to say right off the bat, I think level 2 would be the level I cut out if we're going for 5 levels. But I think level 2 will be based on... Well, first of all, the cutscene has to show the nightmare sequence, right? the cutscene has to show that iconic nightmare sequence that's been memed to hell. And then, like, Andy's mom comes in and he takes Wheezy. And so level 2 will kind of be like Woody going down to save Wheezy. So player 2 in this level. That one's a little bit more tricky. I think it could work with Buster being player 2, and it being sort of like split multiplayer, where it's like player 1 is Woody like jumping across tables and stuff, and then player 2 is Buster causing distractions for the humans so Woody can like get across the tables. But I could also see player 2 being like Buzz, or even like one of the lesser known of Andy's toys. I could see that as well, but I kind of like the idea of Buster being player 2 just because I think it's adorable. And so the level will basically just be Woody jumping across tables to save Wheezy. Again, I think I would cut that level out if we are going for a 5-level game. But yeah, the level would end with Al kidnapping Woody. And then there is the scene where Buzz runs after the truck. I don't think I'm going to make that playable. Just because I wouldn't know who player 2 would be. Buzz is like the most athletic of the toys. I don't think anyone else could keep up with him as he's chasing after the truck. So yeah, that will be where level 2 ends. And where level 3 begins, level 3 will be Woody's perspective inside Al's apartment. So if you've ever played the Lego Harry Potter game, Lego Harry Potter 5 to 7, there's like a level where it shows like the backstory, and it's like in a sort of pseudo 2D style where the three brothers walk along and solve puzzles to avoid death or something. I do think that something similar to that might actually work for like the Woody TV show, where you get to play as Woody and Bullseye in the TV show in a sort of pseudo 2D style thing in like a black and white setting, where you have to like try and get to the mine or something. But like it cuts out halfway through because the series was never finished. Then playable segment 2 will be when like Woody and the Roundup gang are up on the desk, and they get to play around with all the toys, and the segment would just be like you have to activate all the memorabilia to see what they do. Like you'd have to shoot the snake out of the book, you'd have to turn the record player on, whatever. And after that, the cutscene plays where Stinky Pete mentions the museum, and then like everyone goes back into storage, and then the cutscene continues on into the nighttime, when everyone's in their glass cases. And then the third and final playable segment of this level will be at nighttime when Al's on his couch holding Woody's arm, and there's all the Cheetos on the floor, and Woody has to sneak across the Cheetos. Player 2 will be Bullseye, because of course he would. And so you sneak past the Cheetos. A cutscene plays, it ends the level, and and the TV turns on, and then like everyone has to go back to their last cases. Um, so in terms of powers, hmm, I'm trying to think of powers for the Roundup gang. Uh, Stinky Pete's of course in his box form, so I think there will be two versions of Stinky Pete you can play as. So it's like the one where he's out of the box, and then the one where he's in the box. And while he's in the box, I don't know. I actually think you could make like a sort of rather funny power where, if a character's in a box, they can like. I mean, literally, you could just have them fall over and serve as a stepping stool for other characters to jump on. I don't know. Because I'm thinking of the staff mechanic from the Hobbit game, or like he could weigh down box switches or something. I don't know. Jesse, what Jesse's powers would be? I think she'd have acrobatics definitely. Like that's just kind of a given. Um, and then I think maybe she could also command like little woodland creatures, like the command mechanic we were talking about earlier with like the clone troopers and the soldiers. Maybe she could do that for like little toy critters whenever you see them throughout the series. Uh, and then I'm debating on also giving her a sonar ability, like if she yodels too loud or something. I don't know about that one, but I mean, you could do that. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I think Jesse's powers would be. And then Bullseye, um, he could probably pull super strength things with his mouth. Cause I'm thinking of the donkeys from Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like you could pull on super strength things with their mouths. I'm thinking of that thing, and you could definitely do that with Bullseye, and you probably could do that with Rex as well. Um, but yeah, I think those will be their powers or something. And then yeah, so level 3 would just be like Woody's perspective of Al's apartment. Um, because the nighttime stuff where he gets to go get his arm back, all that stuff happened before Buzz and the gang showed up at Al's toy barn. Which, by the way, should give you an indication that level 4 is Al's toy barn. And so in this level, you'd be playing as Buzz and like Mr. Potato Head, Slinky, Rex, and Ham, and you'd have to get across the street and also get through Al's toy barn. So I think the first playable segment of this would be crossing the road with the cones. And I think it would be more like a red light, green light mechanic where you get to ride the cones like you would barrels in like the other Lego games. So you get to ride the cones like you would barrels, and you get to go across the street, and it'd sort of be a red light, green light thing. Maybe even based on the like a street sign that hovers over the level that will tell you when it's time to stop, time to go. I don't know. I don't know about that one though, because it seems like you'd want to go while it's red. I don't know. I don't know, but like you could get the road segment figured out. However, and then after that, a cutscene plays where everyone gets inside Al's toy barn. And then we'd have a multiplayer split here, where Buzz goes off by himself to to fight Delusional Buzz. I'll call him like Delusional Buzz, Utility Buzz, whatever. He's a character in this story. And then the split would be like with all the other characters doing their own thing, like trying to navigate the toy barn itself. And so you'd have the Buzz boss fight, and I think the way the Delusional Buzz boss fight would work is, while he's on the ground, he'll be like attacking with like actual attacks, but occasionally he'll like jump up to the planet, like the fake planet that was there, and like try to shoot at you with a laser. But since the laser power up doesn't work, um, since the laser power up doesn't work, that's when he'd be vulnerable, and you can do some damage on him. But of course, after this, of course, the classic Lego game thing where you beat the boss in the level, but they defeat you in the cutscene. And then Utility Buzz does that. Uh, and then we'd go into what the toys are doing. So interestingly enough, I think this is actually the first level where you get to play as most of Andy's toys. I briefly mentioned what I think Rex's powers should be: smash walls with his head, sonar smash, and um, possibly pulling super strength handles. Um, what would all the other characters' powers be? I feel like Slinky would probably have like his own mechanic, maybe similar to the Elastigirl powers in like the Lego Incredibles game, where it's like he could like throw his front half up to create like a ladder for other characters to climb. He could throw his front half over a chasm to become like a sort of tightrope you can walk across. I just do see his powers being very similar to Elastigirl. Maybe you can even have a thing where it's like there's points he could walk to, which are like over the side of a cliff, where like his back half would stay on the cliff face, and then his front half would go down and try and grab something or push a button or something. I don't know. That's kind of the way I see Slinky's powers working. Um, Ham, um, what would Ham's powers be? I don't know. I don't know what Ham and Potato Head's powers would be, honestly. I think Mr. Potato Head could definitely throw spare parts at like targets or something. That'd be a funny thing he could do. Um, I do not know what Ham's powers would be, honestly. Maybe you could like ground slam or something. I don't know, because he does ground slam in like the fight against Woody. Um, but I don't know. Maybe you could even make a sort of thing where it can use coin operated stuff because he has coins in his back. That sounds like something maybe could be a mechanic he could do, even if it's like exclusive to him alone. Um, but yeah, you'd play as them and you try to get through Al's Toy Barn, and I think with Al's Toy Barn, maybe there could be like some toys that have fallen on the floor that you need to get past, or some like display cases that fell over. Maybe you'd have to climb shelves, do whatever. Of course, you'd have to meet Barbie halfway through this, which means Lego has another property they need to acquire to make a Toy Story game. Maybe that's why they chose Incredibles. I don't know. Um, which I don't know. Maybe Barbie could be playable. And then, of course, like during this level, you definitely be able to get to ride that little cart around. So I guess like this segment could be a tutorial for the powers of Andy's other toys, uh, as well as just like a level into itself. And the level would end when you get in like Al's office. This will be like sort of the last playable segment of the game would be in Al's office, and you'd have to like I don't know dig through his files or something, and you get to talk to the Rock'em Sock'em robots as well. Of course, a cutscene will play where everyone gets inside Al's suitcase, and he takes the bag, and he puts it in his car, and then like he drives back home, all the way to work, all the way to work. That joke was so funny to me as a kid. And of course, the cutscene will continue on to show like normal Buzz, chasing after Al, and then like opening the door, and then like accidentally unleashing evil Emperor Zurg. So yeah, that will be level 4. Will be Al's Toy Barn. Level 5 will be the apartment building again, but this time it will be like Buzz and the gang's perspective, and of course he'd be playing as Delusional Buzz this time, um, because Delusional Buzz is it has replaced Main Buzz in the group. Of course, he'd have all the same powers. He'd just be acting differently, and he'd have a belt. Um, and so basically, a lot of this level would be crawling through vents and crawling up the elevator shaft. That would be what a lot of this level is. And then you'd have a cutscene where everyone got through to the everyone got through to the room where Woody's in, and then like it's revealed that like Woody's actually like having fun with the Roundup gang, and he wants to stay with them, and everyone separates, and then there's TV comes on. It's like, oh, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You can promise I am too. I do you. And then the cutscene would also show Stinky Pete's villain reveal. And yeah, that's that. And the final playable segment of this level, I think, will actually just be like a boss fight against Evil Emperor Zurg. So it's like you'd be back on the elevator, and you'd be playing as Delusional Buzz and Rex during this fight. While everyone's trying to save Woody in the background. Ironically, I just find it ironic that this level would end with like the goofy side plot rather than the main plot. So yeah, after defeating Emperor Zurg, a cutscene plays where it's like the elevator gets down to the bottom, and then like I almost called him Stinky Pete. Al gets in his car and drives to the airport. So then level 6 will be the drive to the airport and also everything in the airport. And this will probably be another really long level. So, of course, the first playable segment, I think this will be like a standard Lego vehicle level sort of thing, where it's like player 1 is the car itself, and it's sort of like auto-scrolling along. And player 2 will get to throw projectiles or something. Like, maybe player 2 would be like Mr. Potato Head, like looking out of the window and like throwing shit or something. But then at the end of this, a cutscene plays where it's like everyone gets to the airport, and also Mr. Potato Head saves the aliens' lives. So they're part of the team now. I don't know what the aliens' powers would have. I imagine it like short character access would be one. But maybe they could also, like, activate mini claws or something. I don't know. But yeah, you'd have that, and and then the second playable segment, I feel like, will be like when you're at the terminal, I think it's called, the place where all the people are. And you'd have to get through that. And then the third part would be when you're in the conveyor belts and you need to get through them. And like maybe this would be split up, but I could also see that maybe it is just the stuff that's played as Buzz and Slinky. And then when you get to the end of this segment, you get a boss fight against Stinky Pete. I don't know how the boss fight would work. You can figure it out. I can see his pickaxe doing like a shockwave attack. In terms of attacks he does, I could see his pickaxe doing a sort of shockwave attack. And then after you defeat Stinky Pete, a cutscene would play where Woody gets out of the box, but Jesse is well, actually, Woody would get out of the box before the cutscene's over, the boss fight's over, right? Yeah, he would. But Jesse's still stuck in the box, and she gets put on the cargo truck. And then I see the fourth playable segment of this level being like one of those train segments in like other Lego games, but it's like on this big cargo, truck with like different layers where each of the cargo bags are. But after you get across the cargo truck, then you'd have the cutscene where Woody gets into the plane. And then I think the fifth and final playable segment of this would be you playing as Woody and Jesse as they get out of the plane. And I forgot to mention that during the train segment, I think player 2 would just be Buzz. Like, he'd just get on the cargo lift instead of running to the side with Bullseye. He'll start running to the side with Bullseye after the cargo lift scene, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you'd have that, and then you save Jesse, and that's the end of Toy Story 2. Yay! Yay. So now we move on to Toy Story 3. Okay, let's face it, the train scene is probably the most interesting of the imagination sequences we got so far, so you got to make it into a level. And of course, it would be like a standard Lego train level, but it would be a lot longer than like the cargo lift segment from Toy Story 2. Um, you'd have like a classic train segment, and you'd play as Woody and Jesse, I think, like on the back of the train. Um, and like you'd be chasing One-Eyed Bart and his family across a train. I think swarm enemies in the segment would be monkeys. The enemies that would like come and attack you throughout the level would be monkeys, and you like punch them off the train or some shit. You get through the train segment, and then a cutscene plays where it ends off up going off the rails, but then Buzz Lightyear saves it. And so then like everyone goes to the field where One-Eyed Bart and Mrs. Potato Head, Mrs. Bart, whatever her name is in Andy's imagination, you get to the field where he and his alien kids are, which is kind of interesting how they have a kids dynamic, and Andy still just decided that the aliens would be Mr. Potato Head's kids. I like that his imagination lines up with the reality, just completely on accident there. Um, but then, of course, of course, the force field dog would show up, and also the dinosaur that eats force field dogs, and he'd be like a player 4 in the segment. But also, the evil Dr. Porkchop shows up, and he drops bombs, and I think the monkeys. You know what? Actually, the level I'm thinking of is the Lego Indiana Jones 2 level with the giant ant monster. Now that was such a stupid level, even for Indiana Jones 2. But I think that kind of boss fight would actually work really well in regards to Andy's imagination. I don't know. That one's just a suggestion because I feel like the focus should be on evil Dr. Porkchop. And maybe like the monkeys could like surround the area to create like the borders of the playable area. Um, and so it's like I don't know how the boss fight would work, but of course, since this is a free play segment, Buzz's laser would actually work like a normal Lego laser. So you might want to incorporate that somehow. Um, so yeah, you do that. Um, and after you defeat evil Dr. Porkchop, uh, and it shows that this was all a game played by Andy. And then the cutscene plays with the whole nostalgic sort of, hey, look, here's a kid playing with his toys sort of thing. Yada, yada, yada. All right. And then after that, in my mind, I have the level 2. And there seems to be a pattern here of me like skipping out on level 2 in in these movies, but level 2 I think would be the scene where everyone gets put in the garbage bag and they get put out on the curb. This is the one I would drop if we're going down to 5 levels, I think. Um, but I think player 1 would be Woody, and player 2 would either be Buster, because I still don't know how you'd make like the big old Buster. I don't know how you'd make him like a player 2 exactly. But I could also see player 2 being one of the aliens, and Andy just like forgot to grab him or something. Um, so yeah, you have that. Yeah, this is definitely a very simple episode that I would drop. This is a very simple level that I absolutely would drop if if we're going 5 levels instead. Um, but yeah, it'd basically just be them trying to rescue the gang from being caught by the garbage truck. But of course, the cutscene plays at the end where everyone just decides to go to Sunnyside Daycare, and so everyone just goes to Sunnyside Daycare. Um, so that would mean that level 3 is Sunnyside Daycare. Now, I can see, and I guess I am taking some inspiration from the Toy Story 3 video game with this one as well. I could see the first part of this level being like a more calm introduction to the level, where it's like you move through the rooms as Woody and the gang, like following Lotso, and you know, is like going through the rooms without much conflict. Um, and then like after that is of course the cutscene where everyone splits up because you gotta have your first act breakup scene. Oh wow, that's interesting. I like Toy Story 3, but there are some elements I don't like about it. So yeah. Then I think the second and much more interesting playable segment of this, it would kind of be split multiplayer, and it would kind of be split where it's like Woody's trying to escape from Sunnyside Daycare. And it's like, he makes his escape through the bathroom, and they're on the roof, and he tries to hang glide, but it doesn't really work out very well. And then like in perspective of everyone else, they'd all being attacked by kindergartners, and basically what you'd want to do is it would start you out with two random toys of Andy's game. I'm kind of thinking of like the Pirates of the Caribbean segments, like in the ship where you had to like free everyone before as like the goal of the level, and as you free them, they join your party, like with the Kraken level or the Davy Jones Locker level. So I'm kind of thinking that in Buzz's perspective, you'd start as like two random toys, and you'd go throughout the room, and you'd have to rescue the other toys from the kindergarteners. And then at the end of that would basically be the end of the level. I don't think the stuff where Buzz is sneaking around at night and he goes in the vending machine needs to be playable. You wouldn't really have a player 2 for that, and it's not a very interesting scene, so I don't think it needs to be playable in a level. So then level 4 would shift to Woody's perspective of things, and I'm going to take some inspiration from the Toy Story 3 video game here as well, and I'd want this to be like a full-on imagination sequence level where Woody and Bonnie's other toys have to get in a rocket ship to escape the witch. That is just how I do that. I think I'd say I'd do it differently than the Toy Story 3 game did it, because that was such a unique level for that game that I would legitimately believe if you did the exact same thing, you'd be plagiarizing it. So it'd have to be like its own aesthetics, its own like progression, whatnot. But yeah, I could definitely see level 4 being a very imagination sequence based thing, where you play as Woody and Bonnie's toys. I would not know the powers of any of Bonnie's toys. There's a lot of them, so you'd have a wide variety. But I would not know any of their powers, and I don't feel like getting into them because I'm going to be honest, Bonnie's toys are kind of forgettable characters. I'm going to be completely honest with you. They are kind of forgettable. And of course after this, you would have the much more serious cutscene about like Lotso's backstory that Chuckles tells you. And then like that motivates Woody to go back. And level 5 will be long, but like I said before, I do not mind the level 5 of a Lego game being a long level. I don't mind like the later scenes in a movie, the later much more like expanded scenes being much longer. So I think part 1 of part 1 of level 5 would be Woody and Slinky fighting the monkey. This would be part 1. It would be like a boss fight against the monkey. Now, this first part of the level legitimately could just be boss endurance. Because I could also see you playing as Barbie, like fighting Ken, but like that one's one where it's like, there's no one with Barbie, and you don't want too many boss fights, so like the Barbie and Ken stuff could just be handled in cutscenes. Um, but then of course the second playable segment of this is going to be when the prisoners fight Buzz and escape from from the holding cell. And then the rest of this level would be like getting out of the caterpillar room, getting through the playground, and getting to the dumpster. And I don't think there'd be any sort of boss fight at the dumpster. You could do a boss fight against Lotso at the dumpster, but I don't know if it would make a lot of sense. I think it would make much more sense if it were just a cutscene. But basically, after that, the cutscene plays where all of Andy's toys get stuck in a dumpster, and then Lotso goes with them. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, actually, I could see a Lotso boss fight where you play as Big Baby. I actually could see that. Uh, I don't know though. I think it might just be better if it's just a cutscene. And of course, level 6 would be the junkyard. Level 6 would be the junkyard. Everyone goes in and the aliens get separated almost immediately. But then you have to play as everyone else trying to survive the junkyard up until the very end, where it's like Lotso betrays them, and then they like just kind of slowly drift towards the abyss of death. But yeah, level 6 would be the junkyard, and then that would be Toy Story 3. Okay. Now we're on to Toy Story 4. Oh boy. Okay, before we get into Toy Story 4, I just have to remember what the hell even happened. I have my notes here. I can go to my notes for a second. Yeah, sure. I'll go to my notes for a second. Ignore some of these. None of these are final. None of these are my final ideas for this. The Toy Story stuff is, but okay. Okay. Okay, I think I know what we're doing. Okay, I think I know what we're doing. So, Toy Story 4. It opens up with the incredibly good past sequence, which shows Bo Peep is an entirely different character, and they have a rescue operation that makes zero sense, and they waste time doing it anyway. I watched the Gaming Magic 13 episode, if you could not tell. I watched his multi-hour long video, and it definitely changed my perceptions on Toy Story 4, I'll tell you what. But yeah, the first level of this would be Operation Pull Toy. I don't know exactly how it'd work. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how an Operation Pull Toy level would work because the whole thing is that Woody's supposed to be attached to Slinky the whole time, and we don't have two Slinkies, so I don't know how you do two playable characters in the segment. You could make it work somehow, I guess. But I guess I just wouldn't exactly know how. Maybe you could even do a thing where it's like, okay, the level starts out where you're in the room and you have to do the elaborate sequence to open the window. Which, why did they do such an elaborate sequence to get to the window? That, again, more stupid. But yeah, that would probably be the first playable segment. And then you get to play as Woody and Slinky as they're like out on the grass, and maybe you could change it up a little bit to where it's like Slinky just goes down onto the grass, and then like they like throw his upper half up as soon as they get a hold of RC. I don't know. Maybe something, or maybe you could even make the string of monkeys the way they get back instead of Slinky. I don't know. You could do a lot of things here. And I mean, like, you could also do a thing where it's like Woody's attached to Slinky the whole level as like sort of I don't know, sort of like a scripted like attachment thing. And then like Buzz is attached to like a row of monkeys. there's a lot of ways you can make this multiplayer. The point is, you got to make it multiplayer, and you got to make the point to save RC from the rain in the driveway. After you save RC from the rain in the driveway, the cutscene plays where Operation Pull Toy is complete successfully somehow, and then the rando comes in and buys Bo Peep, and then Woody tries to get in the box with Bo Peep instead of staying with Andy like he said he was going to at the end of Toy Story 2. Character development is not a thing. It's not real. It doesn't exist. Um, so yeah, you have that cutscene, that beautiful cutscene, and then the cutscene goes on to show Bonnie playing with her toys. Yay! Well, Andy and Bonnie playing with her toys. Yay! And we say goodbye to the random ass driveway that was built after Toy Story 2, but removed before Toy Story 3. So we say goodbye to that random driveway. And yeah. Yeah. After that, we get level 2. Uh Level 2. Okay, so you know the whole plot is that Bonnie's going to kindergarten organization. This is the her playing with Jesse is definitely the least iconic imagination sequence because we don't even get to see it. Um, but yeah, you know the plot is that Bonnie's going to kindergarten orientation, and she's afraid, and Woody tags along in her backpack. So I think the first playable segment of this level will be Woody and one of Bonnie's toys, just like a random Bonnie's toy, maybe Totoro, just so that you can give more attention to Totoro. Because the fourth film didn't want to give attention to Totoro, now did they? So yeah, you'd be playing as Woody and some other second player, like at the kindergarten, um, getting shit out of the trash for Bonnie to play with. And then she builds Forky. And we have the cutscene where everyone goes back, and then, like, Forky is introduced to the gang, whatnot. Next day, they go on a field trip immediately after kindergarten organization. Yay! That makes complete sense. And so the second part of this level will be playing as Woody and Buzz, or maybe even all of the other toys in the RV, basically trying to stop Forky from killing himself, because that's a plot point we have to deal with. So yeah, that would be like the entirety of level 2. It would kind of be those two scenes: the kindergarten orientation and the RV shenanigans. Basically, the level ends with Forky throwing himself out of the window and getting lodged in the dirt, and so Woody has to go back for him. And then the hub world segment would be walking along that big ass road, like hopefully trying to find the RV, and then level 3 starts when they get to the gift shop. So I'm kind of thinking that since if we're doing this as level 3, it would mean there would be 2 gift shop levels. So I might drop level 3 this time and make it like a cutscene if we're going for 5 levels. But if we're going for 6 levels, the next level would be Woody and Forky at the daycare looking for Bo Peep, but finding Abigail instead and then having to run away from her. And that would be the entirety of level 3. So now level 4 would kind of be a split multiplayer sort of thing. Level 4 would be entirely split multiplayer, with Woody going through the park, like the playground, and Buzz going through the carnival and making the stupidest decisions that anyone has ever made ever. And of course, like I think Buzz's segment would end first, and then Woody would meet Bo Peep, and then the rest of the level would be like getting under the merry-go-round, I think it was, and then climbing it, and then getting to see the Dust City or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, and then there's all those. There's tiny Polly Pocket character that was with Bo Peep. That would also be playable, I guess. And then like I don't know. Did she have any other friends at this point? I don't remember. Skunk Mobile. Ooh, skunk. Okay, so that would be level 4. Level 5 would be the incredibly stupid and dumb and stinky plan to save Forky. So the incredibly stupid and dumb and stinky dumb plan to save Forky. The first part would kind of be when they're on the floor and they're fighting the mannequins, and then the sheep grabs onto the mannequin's butt, and because the sheep refuses to let go, they accidentally get kidnapped. So that's something we have to deal with. Then Woody and Bo Peep would go to the party celebration where we do have an admittedly nice Tin Toy reference. And then they meet Duke Kaboom. I almost called him Duke Nukem, but no, it's Duke Kaboom. So they meet Duke Kaboom, and he has his old cutscene with his sad backstory. I should take a minute to address what I think Bo Peep and Duke Nukem's powers will be. So, oh yeah, and her sheep. I'm gonna be honest that I don't want to do this. Okay, so Duke Nukem, I think you could give him his own exclusive ability, where it's like where it's like you build a bike, and then it's like he can ride the bike, and like do a big jump, and whenever he does his jump, he'll like put a little string on it, and of course he'd also have like small character access because he's short. Bo Peep, I could honestly see the Polly Pocket character not even being its own character in the story mode, but like a pet that Bo Peep sends out to go through like the pet access things. I mean, honestly, I really could. Um, Bo Peep, I don't know. I guess you'd have a very interesting animation of her going across a zip line. And then, of course, she'd have acrobatics as well because they changed her character so completely that she can now do acrobatics now. That's interesting. Um, those are the only two powers I can really think of her having, honestly, because I just hate Toy Story 4. And then her sheep will, I don't know, maybe they'll pull super strength handles with their mouth or some shit. I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, her sheep will be one character and not three. I mean, do I even need to say that? Yeah, that's how multi-headed characters work. We count bodies, not heads. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, and so then the next playable segment will be like you climb the dresser and then you jump across the dresser and then you have a fight against Abigail in the dresser. And then like after that is completely botched. Um then everyone falls on the floor and then you have the cat chase which I guess would just be like um player 1 moves the bike or something and then like player 2 throws something, I guess. And then that would be the end of level 5. I love Toy Story 4. It is the best Toy Story movie. And then after that will be the cutscene where Woody like removes his organs for Abigail, because she deserved that. Um, and then level 6 will be kind of like the gang going through the carnival at nighttime, and trying to find Abigail and owner, and then trying to get back to the RV. Yeah, yeah, that'll be it. What will Abigail's powers be? I don't know. Maybe she have grappling like Woody. I don't know. She has a pull string. Why not? Yeah, yay! And I think the buzz stuff in the scene will just be handled in cutscene. Because of course you don't get to play as Jesse in any of the levels in Toy Story 4. Yeah, have you noticed that? Oh no, wait, maybe the the opening sequence. Okay, never mind. Maybe you could play as her in that brief segment where she opens the window. Yep, yep, that's Toy Story 4. Yay! So that's Toy Story 4. So I think a brief overview. Level 1, One-Eyed Bart stuff. Level 2, soldiers going through Andy's house. Level 3, gas station and back of truck segments. Level 4, um, Pizza Planet. Level 5, Sid's house. Level 6, moving truck. Level 1, Buzz Lightyear video game. Level 2, Saving Wheezy from the tables. Level 3, Woody's Roundup. Level 4, Alice Toy Barn. Level 5, the apartment building. And level 6 would be like the pizza truck and airport. Level 1, the train segment, imagination sequence, whatnot. Level 2, saving the guys from being scooped up by the garbage truck outside Andy's house. Level 3, an introduction to Sunnyside Daycare. Level 4, imagination sequence with Bonnie's toys. Level 5, the jailbreak from Sunnyside Daycare. Level 6, the junkyard. Level 1, Operation Pole Toy. Operation Pole Toy. Level 2 would be kindergarten and RV. Level 3 would be the antique shop. Level 4 would be the park and carnival. Level 5 would be the antique shop again. And then level 6 would be the carnival again, but at nighttime this time. So yeah, that's how I'd do them. And if I'd have to remove any levels to get it down to 5 levels, I would. I think I'm gonna go backwards in movies because I'm more confident that way. For Toy Story 4, we'd remove the first antique shop level just because you'd get the same vibes of that level from level 5. From Toy Story 3, I would remove the garbage segment and just make it a cutscene because it's probably going to be the least interesting level anyway. For Toy Story 2, I would remove a very similar scene where Woody goes to save Wheezy just because I feel like doing multiplayer on that might be awkward and it would be such a short scene anyway that I don't really know if it'd be worth it. And then Toy Story 1 is the one I have a little bit more difficulty with. I would probably just combine levels. And I would either combine the One-Eyed Bart level with the Soldiers level, just because it all takes place on the same day, and it's, you know, like the Soldier segment would probably be short anyway. Or I would combine the gas station and truck stuff with the Pizza Planet level. And that's probably how I do that. So yeah, that's my idea for a Lego Toy Story game. I did not put Lightyear on here because it is not a Toy Story movie. You can't make me believe that it is. So if they are going to release Toy Story 5, maybe that would be a good time to do a new Lego game. But at the same time, I am half convinced that there are no more Lego games. All gone. So, yeah. Okay. Just gonna be honest. Like, I had SML going on in the background. It's pretty ironic that this is the Inside Out parody that they did. It's kind of ironic that we ended on this one, but yeah, those are my ideas for a Lego Toy Story game. I might do more podcasts like this. They might not all be based on theorizing Lego games, but yeah, it's that's those are just some things I think about occasionally. If you have a film franchise that you want to see me do like theorized Lego levels on, let me know. Um, Actually, Actually, before I end this podcast, maybe I should talk about some free play stuff. Yeah, like maybe I should talk about some free play stuff. Like, I think you, I think in the hub world you would be like the size of the toys, but like you could also play as Andy in free play and he'd just be like the size of a toy. Like you could play as the human characters in free play and they'd just be like toy sized. Whatever. And then I think you could also play as like the animals that were important, like the hyper realistic cat and the two dogs that were important. I guess technically three dogs because Buster would have two designs because he's old in the third one. Um, so yeah, you'd have that. I think the hub world. Okay, let's talk about the hub world. Okay, so maybe there could be like districts you could get to if like you get inside a Pizza Planet truck. Like maybe the Pizza Planet truck will be outside in like each hub world segment, and if you get it in, it will take you to a different part of the city or to like the outskirts, just so that you don't have to model like an entire ginormous city. But what I'm thinking in terms of a hub world is I'm thinking you'll have Andy's house and it might just be his room, but it also might be the entire house. I think it might make sense if it's just his room so you don't have to see giant Andy and giant Andy's mom walking around, because I just don't think that'd make a lot of sense. Um, so you'd have Andy's house, and like you could climb like a ladder of monkeys to get out of that, and then you'd like be in the street between his house and Sid's house, and of course you have Sid's house, which would include his yard um and his room. I think they made. I think they did make the Toy Story house like in a hub world before. Yeah. And then you'd have District 2, which would just be Andy's house from Toy Story 2 and 3. But it'd be the version without the driveway, because that's the canon version. And Toy Story 4 isn't canon. Um, and then District 3 would kind of be the space between Al's apartment and Al's toy barn. And, um, in Al's apartment, maybe you'd have to go in through the vents and the elevator shaft. But you'd have like Al's apartment room, and then you'd have the elevator shaft, and then you'd have the space between them, like the roads and stuff, and then you'd have like the interior of Al's toy barn, which is just like a big place with a lot of shelves. Then you'd have the air District 4 might be the airport, but you could just keep the airport contained to a level just so you don't have to make like a massive airport, like an absolutely massive airport. But I could see them making a absolutely massive airport that just has like a dozen rooms. And then District 5, I think, would be the Dynaco gas station. And then District 6 would be the like the outside area from the fourth film that had like the park, the antique shop, and the carnival all sort of around it. And then District 7 would maybe be Bonnie's house, but at the same time, I could just have Bonnie be like a close neighbor to Andy. And alternatively, you could just make an absolutely freaking massive hub world. You, like you like you don't even need the district system. I mean, like the district system could be handled in like a like teleportation areas, like an area you could teleport to. But I mean, at the end of the day, you could just have an absolutely massive hub world. And I'm gonna be honest that I don't know about that. I don't know if Lego could do an absolutely massive hub world like that. But I mean, I'd love to see them try. In terms of bonus levels, I actually could see the Tin Toy short being a bonus level. Like I love when Lego will do bonus levels that have that are like part of the story. of a franchise, and I feel like Tin Toy, it really is the animated short that goes alongside Toy Story the best. And I think it might even be canon to the Toy Story universe because there is a sentient Tin Toy in Toy Story 4. So I do think Tin Toy might actually be a really nice bonus level. I think the Destroy a Million Studs level, I think that could be handled in Ducky and Bunny's imagination sequence. I forgot to mention Ducky and Bunny because they were such pointless characters to the story, and their scenes with Buzz in the antique shop probably won't even be playable. But yeah, I do think the bonus level probably could just be like Ducky and Bunny's imagination sequence at the end of the fourth film, where they turn really big and they just destroy everything. I could see that, but I also could see them doing like the more standard Lego ones, which I miss. They always want it to be like a giant monster destruction stuff at the end, which is pretty fun, but also I miss the classics. You know, I do, I do. So that would be in terms of bonus levels. Gold bricks. Would gold bricks unlock anything? Maybe. Maybe they could unlock like builds or something, or maybe you could do it similar to like the Incredibles, where the der the der the gold bricks could unlock like builds you could do throughout the hub world, which will unlock you like Pixar characters from other Pixar films. So like you could put them together and you could get Flick from Bug's Life, or Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles, or Marlin from Nemo, or maybe even Nemo from Nemo, or maybe even Dory from Nemo. I don't want them to just do the same collection that they did from The Incredibles. I think maybe they should do like different, still very important characters. Like for Monsters Inc., maybe they can make it Michael Wazowski you get to play as this time. Because you got to play as Sully in The Incredibles, maybe you could play as Michael Wazowski this time. And instead of Dory, maybe you could play as Marlin, because it should have been Marlin anyway. Um, and then for Wally, maybe you could play as Eva. And then for I don't know. I guess that system from The Incredibles is just stuck in my mind because I really love that you could go back and play as like old Pixar characters. Um, I don't think I'd go over every single power that like every single important character would have, because then we'd be here all day. Like I didn't even go over what the powers of Sid's toys would be, just because they're secondary characters. They would be the player twos in the Sid's house level, but I didn't even go over what their powers would be because I don't care. I didn't even go over what Ducky and Bunny's powers would be because I don't care. But yeah, that's basically my idea for a Lego Toy Story game. I would like them to make more Lego games after Skywalker Saga, but at the same time, I just did not like Skywalker Saga. I'm gonna be completely honest with you on that. So yeah, I guess that's my first podcast then, and yeah, I'll see you all later. Bye bye.